up on the first floor. I just happen to be on the second floor today, but I should probably have one on every floor that I do.
You should. So you don't have to move it around. Just do
Yeah.
that. But we're coming up in 15. Okay, let me get that together. Okay. Hey, everybody. Hey. We're coming up. You see, Dr. Malvo is here. Woo. All right. And we're up in 4, 3. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show here on AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. It's a joy to be with you as we talk about Lisa Cook, Federal Reserve Governor. She is a governor on that board. Tremendously prestigious position. And she's someone who worked hard to be there, who more than deserved to be there. Why was she fired? Who was she? Who was this alum of Spelman and some of the most prestigious universities in the world, in Africa and in Europe? She has been everywhere. She has studied these economic systems everywhere. I've heard her described almost as an accidental economist. But we're going to have this talk with Dr. Julianne Malveaux about her, because what's interesting about her work, as I have come to understand it, is that she really is intersectional. She understands the role of poverty in our lives. She understands uh, just who we are. I need you to go back to where you were, Dr. Malveaux, because now we've got the light. There's like the sunlight
Yeah,
above you.
over there, I was having.
It's okay. We're
I
gonna
gotta move over there. I was having
That's all right. You know, we're up. We're on air now.
We were gonna have.
So here we are. But let's.
Okay, sorry. We just.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna start
up
again. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna start again, so we don't have that chatter on the air. And I'm gonna start at 3. So I'm gonna give you about 50 seconds to get to where you need to be. Yeah, because it was glaring, and I did.
I'm on the third floor.
Oh, okay. Okay, everybody.
To the third floor.
So everybody, like and share.
Sorry about that.
No. No worries. No worries. Thank you for being here. And so we're going to do this. Okay. Okay.
Never get fat.
Not 50. Well, no, that's a good thing.
Okay, here we are.
Okay.
Okay, we got another light up here. Okay, let me see. What can I do? I can. Boom.
Okay. All right.
Give me just a sec, Santita. I'm sorry.
Okay. No worries.
Okay, now what happened? Did you go away?
No, I'm here.
Okay, here we go.
I'm here. Can you still see me? Take your time. Catch your breath.
I can see you now. Okay. How's that?
That's
for visual.
Wow. I mean, I see you. It's like, whoa, it's a whole person. Okay. Well, this is what I'm talking about. So we're going to be up in 15 seconds. Okay. Okay. All right. So it's all good. Okay. And are you ready, Dr. Malveaux? Okay.
I'm here. Shall I change anything lighting wise?
No. We're good because I can see you now. We are going to be up in 15 seconds. And we are up now. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show here on AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. It's a joy to be with you today. We've got a lot to talk about here on the Santita Jackson Show, and we're going to talk about Lisa Cook. Who is she? Well, Black woman who is now part of the more than 300,000 African American women who have lost their jobs, who have been fired over the past 3 months. Wow. She bears watching because she is also a governor on the board of the Federal Reserve. And she is someone who is an alum of Spelman College for Women, but she's also studied at some of the preeminent universities in the world, including on the continent of Africa. She has looked at segregation and she has looked at lynchings and she has looked at the special circumstances under which Black people, Black Americans, have had to thrive and survive. And that has shaped her worldview of the economy. And yet, she is the person who the president has chosen for elimination because of an infraction, as he put it. Now, many people do have more than one primary residence, including some people in the administration. In fact,
Hmm.
when the Trump administration first went in, several people, including people in his own family, were registered to vote in more than one place at the same time. So, this is really not about that. This is about getting her out. We've had the chief librarian at the Library of Congress, an African American woman, the first to serve in that position. She was eliminated. We just keep on going and going and going and going. But while Black women are being eliminated first, we won't be the last. A lot of people are being eliminated. AI is taking people out, the average American worker. And we're going to see that as we roll toward 2026. Remember, the Doge cuts and the big beautiful bill are not going to be felt truly until after the midterms of 2026. That's how they structured it, so they can get more and more people in, so that when these congressmen and women go home, they can say, hey, it's not going to be that bad. And people can say, you know what, it isn't that bad. Oh, but it's going to be worse than that. Come Sunday, as they say, come November 2026, come December 2026 and 2027. So let's talk about Lisa Cook and what her firing means. And she's not stopping, everybody. She has gotten her legal team together and she is planning to sue. There are a lot of questions, many. Does the president have the power to fire her? Because the Federal Reserve, even though it sounds like it's a government entity, it really is not. It is independent of it, supposed to be. And so let's talk about that. Hey, Tyrone Sudemeyer. Hey, Solomon. Hey, Robert. Hey, Bernadette. Everybody, please like and share. Like and share. Daryl, how you doing, sweetie? Andre, like and share. Like and share. Like and share. Let's talk about this. Who, first of all, who is Lisa Cook? And then you can help us to understand what the Federal Reserve is and what the board is, because they're atop it all. So, Dr. Julian Malvo, who is Lisa Cook?
Well, Grand Rising, Santita, and I hear you called out Tyrone, a fellow member of Push Excel board.
Yes.
So, hey, Tyrone, we miss you. Come on back, bro. Um, anyway, let's talk about Lisa Cook. She is among a very small sorority of African American women economists, of whom I am one. She has taught just done the whole econ thing. Uh, Dotted the I's, crossed the T's, done all the work, was pulled out by President Biden to be a member of the Fed. Before that, she headed at one point the National Economics Association, which is the organization of Black economists. She is a stalwart sister who is very, very generous with her time, especially for young economists. There are a group of young women they call themselves the Sadie Society, after Sadie T.M. Alexander, who was the first Black woman to get a PhD in economics from University of Pennsylvania in 1921.
Our
And we all
soror.
lift up Sadie, our soror, the first president of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority
There you go.
Incorporated. Um, but anyway, Lisa's a solid sister. She is actually a niece or cousin, I think a niece of Samuel Du Bois Cook, who made his stripes in African American higher education. She
Mhm.
comes from good stock. That's all you can say. She comes from good stock, and she's very, very focused. Everyone was pleased. We had never had a black woman on the Fed. We'd had other men. Andrew Burmer, of course, was the first African American on the Fed, the first African American on the Fed, and and there have been two other black men on the Fed, no women. And so
Mhm.
she was the first woman. So we all rejoiced at that. She was very narrowly confirmed. In fact, Vice President Kamala Harris at the time had to break the tie because she was, it was a partisan vote, a very partisan vote. However, she was confirmed. She went on to the Fed. She's done very well. She has not followed Jerome Powell lockstep. Of course, now Jerome Powell is the chair of the Fed who that man, I'm gonna keep it clean because it's you, Santita. I have other words, but let's just call him that man. He is sparred with Jerome Powell throughout his term. Now, be clear, he nominated Jerome Powell in his first term. But he sparred with him ever since he came back. And he sparred with him because he feels that Powell has not lowered interest rates quickly enough. But what we have to understand about the Fed is that from our inception, the United States has had currency challenges. The Federal Reserve Act was passed in 1913. The Board of Governors has 7 people in it, all appointed by the president. They have 14-year terms. The purpose of those long terms is to protect our money supply from being politicized. In other words, 14 years, a president has 4 years, that they overlap their very long terms. We also have regional governors at 12 Federal Reserve banks around the country: San Francisco, Philadelphia, Richmond, Virginia. And those 12 are appointed by the members of the, or confirmed really, by the members of the Fed, which would include Lisa Cook. Um, in 1933, Glass-Steagall law was passed. It provided insurance for people who made deposits into Federal Reserve banks. Why? 1933, Depression. We had many, many challenges around the integrity of our money system. Um, so the Fed does like three things. They basically set interest rates, the open market rate, the reserve requirements, which are almost zero now. But reserve requirements say that if you lend X, you got to have X in the bank. So let's say you lend $100, you have to have $20 in the bank. So those are the things that the Fed does. It's considered to be apolitical, and that's why you have the overlapping terms. This is the first time, Santita, in the history of the Fed that a president has attempted to take over the Fed. He pushed Jerome Powell out. The woman, and I always forget her name. I wrote it down, but whatever. The woman who resigned, she had just a few months in her term. She resigned, which gives that man one appointment. He's appointed that on a temporary basis with Stephen Miller, who's his doodle-wop. In other words, someone who basically is rumored that Stephen Miller was the primary author of the Project 2025. But in any case, he appointed Stephen Miller to the vacancy on an interim basis. He will have to be approved by Congress. Okay. And this Congress does whatever that man wants. Uh, if Lisa Cook is fired, she ain't going easy. This is my sister in Dreamgirls, and I am telling you, I ain't going back. She has got a great lawyer who has defended others in this situation. But if he's successful in removing Dr. Cook, then basically what will happen is he'll have the majority of the votes on the Fed. So I was saying, this is an unprecedented attempt for this president to take over the Federal Reserve and to have interest rates fluctuate at his will. Here's what the bad news is. First of all, this has never happened before, but we have history of interest rates plummeting in the sight of economic challenges. And when interest rates plummet as quickly as he'd like, what we are doing is setting ourselves up for a recession. So a lot of my brothers and sisters think of this as a small thing. It's not a small thing, it's a huge thing. If he is successful in eliminating Lisa Cook, there's no Fed independence. What does that mean, Santita, for all of us in the long run? One of the reasons why the United States dollar has been the pivotal dollar in the world is because we have so many safeguards around it to ensure that it's nonpartisan, to ensure that it is just absent of any kind of partisan influence. Now, this man comes in, he wants to have his way. What is he trying to do? Not only try to take control of the Fed, but he's also attempting to destabilize the whole world economic order. Understanding, and you and I have talked about this many times, that there's already attempts to attack the world economic order. The BRICS countries are not um, feeling the United States and our dominance. And in not feeling the United States and our dominance, the BRICS countries are like, hey, wait a minute, why do we bow to the dollar? Well, if we weaken the dollar, which this move does, if we weaken the dollar, is yet another reason for the BRICS countries to say, I'm up out of here. And so we see people looking for alternate currencies. The euro certainly is one. It's not the main one. There are lots of challenges with the euro as well. And that has been useful for the dollar. But at this moment, as useful as it is, this attack on Lisa Cook is an attack on the economic stability, Santita, of our nation. And
If
so
if I
this
could if
man,
I could if I could interrupt you here, because I keep getting a message from Solomon Harris. Um, there's an allegation that has been lodged against Dr. Cook. An allegation
I can speak to that.
is is not an indictment. No, I have to, because he's coming, and I want you to speak to that, because she has not been found guilty of anything. Unlike the president, who's been, and mind you, I told you, and I've been quite forward with you. I felt that the charges lodged against him in New York were ridiculous. I did, because people raise and
Disagree with
lower
that.
the values of their properties if they can, depending upon what they're trying to do economically. So I was done with that, and I was clear that that was a political hit. All this stuff, all of these things are political hits. He was hit politically, and she's being hit politically, because there is a man who decided to go after Dr. Lisa Cook, just to
Yes.
just to push her out. So he was no, he was convicted, and the convictions have stood, Solomon Harris. But I'm not going to get into all of that, because I'm very clear that when you are indicted, when you're investigated, when you're indicted, that is all political. That has nothing to do with your guilt or innocence. There are a lot of guilty people who are not touched, and there are a lot of innocent people who are framed. Next. So just leave, please. Enough of that. Letitia James, all of that. All of that. This is all political gamesmanship. The fact is, who's winning? Are the people going to win? Most Americans cannot afford rent. Most Americans can have no prayer of getting a house. Most people can't send their children to school. We got a real problem here. And the dollar
Santita,
is being, and we're watching the dollar be. And what did you say once about one of these Detroit? We were in Detroit for one of the Rainbow Push conferences, the automotive summit. You said, you got on the mic and you said, "Let us be clear. Detroit is not collapsing. Detroit is being collapsed, so you can sell it for pennies on the dollar."
and that's what they did. But
Is
Santita,
that what's happening here with the United
let's
States?
let's get back to Lisa for just a second around
Mhm.
the allegations against her. They're accusing her of mortgage fraud. What the facts are at this point that I can see, and I reached out to her. She's not a friend, but she is an associate and a colleague. She can't talk to me, as a member of the media. She can't
Mhm.
talk to me, but I did reach out to say, if you got something to say, let me know. But here's what I do know: she's being accused of mortgage fraud because she applied for two different mortgages at two different times, applying for both mortgages as their primary
Mhm.
residence. By law, you can have more than one primary residence. I've had them over the course of my life, I don't know how many times. I lived in Greensboro, North Carolina, and I had a home here in Washington, D.C., primary residence. I lived
Mhm.
in Los Angeles and had my home in Washington, D.C., again, primary residence. It's not illegal. Um, I refinanced my home here in Washington while living in DC, primary residence. Somebody could have challenged that. But the fact is that for a number of reasons, this is my primary residence and I'm sitting in here up in here right now. Secondly, most importantly, she applied for these mortgages before she was appointed to the Fed. They did all due diligence on her finances and everything else. You don't get a federal appointment, which is why I don't have one, unless you can clear all kinds of security, where you can have all kind of background checks, where they look at you and they find you worthy. And they say
Wait,
there's
wait,
no.
wait. No, let me interrupt you here. The reason you don't have those appointments is because of your politics. No, stop. No, no, no. It's your politics. You have been so progressive in your politics. You've been such an advocate for the poor, for the lost, and the locked out. Those who have no voice. It has been decided that they don't want you sitting in the councils of power. Just as Reverend was not welcome, just as Dr. King was not welcome. So no, it's not, and it's not your credentials. That's why they yanked your chain and wouldn't let you walk with your class at MIT. They let maybe one person out of a million into MIT. She got her PhD there. And then they decided to jam you, as they do so many people, so many black people, when you want to be a naval pilot. You get yanked literally the night before you get your wings. I've talked to enough people who've been in that situation. So this is all political. It is. So just stop. That's why you're not there. Because you will not be a spokesperson for Empire, Dr. Malvo. Now I'm saying it, you don't have to. I know this to be true. Now you go on.
Well, to get back to, so anyway, whatever she did it before she was appointed a governor to the Fed. They fully investigated her. They investigate you. I mean, they go into your underwear basically to figure out, have you done this, have you done that,
They
and
know who you are, right?
she passed inspection. Now they got this little man. This is their new thing. They've accused many people of it, of mortgage fraud. And they go back and then they say, well, you committed mortgage fraud, so you're unqualified for anything. But heretofore, there has been no official investigation other than the fact she was investigated when she was appointed to the Fed. There has been no, they said the only way you get rid of someone from these congressional spots, and there are about 200 of them, is for cause, removed for the president for cause. They have alleged, the cause they allege is mortgage fraud. Again, there's been no investigation, there's been no court case, which is why she has an excellent lawyer who is saying, oh, hell no. So the question becomes now, what is cause? Define cause. Show cause. And they cannot show cause. This is not about whether or not she committed mortgage fraud, which I believe she did not. What it's about is whether this president can get another seat on the Fed so that
Mhm.
he can then lower interest rates as he wants to, with no regard for what happens to our economy. Jerome Powell, although very, very cautious and conservative, and
Mhm.
we're not mad at him about that, people who are counting our money need to be cautious and conservative. Jerome Powell has taken a very measured way. Now, he might have been able to lower the rate a couple months ago by a quarter of a percent, but there is no way ever that we're going to lower the interest rate by 2 to 3%. That would be what's considered highly irresponsible.
Well,
That would
okay,
make money.
explain. Make that make sense for the rest of us who are not economists. The president has been pushing Chairman Powell to do what, and what would be the impact? What would be the effect of what the president is asking him to do?
Okay, the lower the interest rate, interest is the cost of money. So the lower the interest rate, the cheaper the money. So if you have to borrow, let's say, $1,000 at, let's say, 4%, what you're basically paying is $40 for the $1,000. If you borrow it at 2%, you're paying $20 for the $1,000. It's cheaper. And just put some zeros behind all of that. So the lower the interest rate is, the cheaper the money is, which means let's say you're an entrepreneur, Santita, and you want to borrow to expand your business. The lower the interest rate, the cheaper the money, you can expand your business. But guess what? If it's too cheap, if the money is too cheap and you move too fast, it's very inflationary. So let's say Santita Jackson gets a loan for $100,000. Well, she paid $4,000 for it. But she could have paid $2,000 for it. If she paid $2,000 for it, guess what? She said, "Oh shoot, I don't want $100,000. I'll take $200,000. I'm not gonna just expand my business. I'm gonna invest money in this and do this and do this." Okay, but you really can't afford it at the end of the day, and it
Mhm.
is inflationary. So when a lot of people who are trying to buy homes think this is a great move. Lower interest rates, easier to buy a home. Lower interest rate, easier to get a loan. Lower interest rate, easier to run through the money space. But if the interest rate is too low and you choose to take too much, what ends up happening is not only is it inflationary, but you may not be able to pay it back. Banking is a very conservative business. People don't just hand you money. At a zero interest rate, money is free. And free money means what? Everybody wants some. And it doesn't benefit you, Santita Jackson, the little sister with a corner boutique. It benefits the big businesses who will
Mhm.
and use exploit this to expand their businesses, and then guess what? Go bankrupt and ask the feds to bail them out.
Well,
And we've
does
seen this
crypto have
before. We
anything to
now
do?
see it with Intel.
Is there any intersectionality with
I don't really keep
cryptocurrency?
up with crypto.
What is it?
Um, I, you know, Cryptocurrency is fake. I don't keep up with it.
Okay.
Probably I should. It's a generational thing, but I really don't keep up with it a lot for any number of reasons. I think that people who invest in crypto might as well just go to Las Vegas. Take yourself to Las Vegas and put some money on the slot. Um, but that's
Mhm.
my opinion. There are a lot of people, younger people, who think differently. And there's an aspect of crypto which is untraceable, which is problematic, and which is inflationary, which is problematic. We've seen crypto go all the way up, all the way down. We've seen people make fortunes in crypto, and we've seen people lose fortunes in crypto. Now, one of my younger brother economists will tell me, well, you've seen that with the dollar as well, but in very different ways and very different safeguards. So like I said, I will, when I have a couple of days, I'm going to sit down and learn more about it. But at the moment, it's something I choose not to speak on.
Okay, I was just wondering because there's so much talk about it, and as there's a lot of talk about our money, and
Yes,
I put all of that in the conversation. So when I see people moving people around the Fed, and there have been a lot of questions about the legitimacy of the Fed, quite frankly,
it's
and
legit.
what,
I mean,
what
if you believe that any other law is legitimate, it's legitimate. But there are a group of conspiracy theorists and others who seem to think that there's a problem with the founding of the Fed. The Fed was founded legitimately. The Fed is, and there's a long history. We going back to what's his name, Alexander Hamilton, who
Mhm.
was the first kind of controller of currency before we have the Fed. And the reason why we have a Fed is we had a
But he
number
was
of
attacked.
regional banks that were failing. And
But
so,
even Alexander
hmm,
Hamilton was attacked for being. They felt that he was an agent of European bankers, right? So there's always been pushback against it. But that having been said, let me ask you, what does, in practical terms, for for the average person like me, what does the Fed mean? How does it impact my everyday life? Why should I even be concerned about it?
well, what the Fed does is it sets interest rates. The Fed manages our national, and by national I mean also international money supply. It regulates how much money is out there. So basically, through federal bonds, They regulate the ways that people can buy and sell federal bonds. And they basically regulate what the cost of that money is. An interest rate, again, Santita, is the cost of money. So when the interest rate is high, money's expensive. When it's low, money is cheap. If you we had a near zero interest rate, it was 1%, 2%. Uh, Post COVID, that means that they were putting a lot of money out there. Why were they putting the money out there? Our economy had stalled. So we wanted money to be cheap so that entrepreneurs and others could borrow. They could
Mm,
borrow at cheap rates. 2% interest is damn near free money. On the other hand, 6% interest is expensive money. We're someplace in the middle at about 4%, a little more. And a lot of people would like it to be lower, but at the same time, at 4%, it's a moderate interest rate. President Trump would like the interest rate to be much lower. He'd like money to be cheap, if not free. Getting cheap, if not free money has long term implications for you and for everybody else who's listening. Cheap, if not free money means that it's expansionary. Do we need to be economic? Do we need economic expansion? The president and his minions would argue yes. They say we need cheap money because the economy may be slagging, and if the economy is lagging and there's more money out there, it's expansionary. But there's a cautionary tale, which if you expand too much, you are inflationary and you cause long-term damage to the economy. You can look at European possibilities. Um, I'm laughing at someone who said something about the sorority. I'm gonna leave that alone.
oh, well, that we have to
But you're
defend
looking
them
at
no matter
poss-
what. That we have to defend them no matter what. We're adults. We don't do that. No, that has nothing. And
no,
unless
and
if you're in a fraternity or sorority, I think there are a lot of myths about fraternities and sororities, particularly black fraternities and sororities. Let us just say this, and I know my soror can speak to this. Julianne Malvo, you're part of the reason I joined the sorority because I have so much respect for you. The fact is, I applied, and I'm glad I was accepted. That having been said, these are public service sororities and fraternities. Black people needed in segregation places to go. We couldn't go to hotels. We needed to try and figure out how to work. We could not apply and get jobs downtown. Our sororities and fraternities have been almost like underground railroads, Dr. Malvo, for us.
yes,
We would that's been the role of our sororities and fraternities. They have been inclusive. They have not been exclusive. They have not been places where you just went and party. Now you could have a good time, but we've always found a way in sororities and fraternities, the black ones, to try. They have been founded for social uplift. Now, can things go to the left in any
you know,
organization? Of course, but that is not what we do. Dr. Malvo?
I'm looking at Solomon Harris's note in the chat. He asked whether or not Lisa committed mortgage fraud, and the answer
Mm-hmm.
is that has not been proven. That
It's a,
has not been proven. And the issue again is the the use of mortgage fraud, which quite frankly this president has been convicted of. The use of mortgage fraud as a way to remove somebody from the Federal Reserve is specious, is utterly and absolutely specious. But I just shake my head. All of our institutions are imperfect, but folks like Solomon Harris only come out the woodwork when it's a black woman being attacked and they want to support those who attack her. Let's be really blessed if we look at the work that Lisa Cook has done. And it's not me defending, someone who's a member of my sorority. I'm not defending someone who's also a black woman PhD economist, although, we've gone too far to turn back now. And I've got the stripes on my back and have paid the dues. But that's
absolutely.
not who I am. I'm
We
saying.
supported Kamala
Well, I'm
Harris.
not.
She
That's why I'm not
for
stepping up for her. I'm stepping up for her because
yeah. Uh,
exactly because she has done nothing wrong. Prove it. Prove it. If she committed mortgage fraud, simply prove it. The fact is they can't prove it, and they fully investigated her before she went onto the Fed.
mhm.
They fully investigated her before she went onto the Fed. You don't get on the Federal Reserve Bank without being. You don't get any of these high level government jobs. I'll make you laugh. When I was an intern, hear me, an intern at the Council of Economics under Jimmy Carter in 1977, um, it took them a year to clear me. And my mama kept saying, they're not going to clear you. You know, I was documented, baby panther, et cetera, but it took almost a year. I mean, every day I went into the office and they had to check me. I didn't get an ID to come in because I had not been cleared. They
Wait a
are
minute.
extraordinarily thorough.
And she is alleged to have done something that occurred before she became a governor.
Oh,
So they would have
so that
known
would
about
have
this before.
theoretically, yes,
Oh,
she should have been investigated. I believe she was. I believe this is
of course she
specious.
was.
There's a guy. Um, there's a guy on the a Trumpy who is now using mortgage fraud and to try to get rid of people who have federal appointments. But I guess it didn't get rid of the president. And this I don't know who Solomon Harris is, but I would just say, brother man, check yourself before you wreck yourself. That's all. Letitia James went after uh, that man because he had violated. He was convicted of 47 or 37 felonies. Convicted.
24. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, let me get the numbers right. Let me not exaggerate. It was enough, though, Santita. He was convicted. So, what, Solomon Harris, is your problem? But I'm not going to debate with you because I'm not going there. What I'm going to say is that Lisa Cook, Dr. Lisa Cook, celebrated economist, earned her position on the Fed. It's not DEI as diversity, it's DEI as in definitely earned it. DEI definitely earned it. She's done a good job. Why are they going after her? Because the president wants to control the Fed. There's no other reason. He wants to control the Fed. As soon as one person left for reasons that we don't know, but she wanted to get back into academia and wanted to go back to the semester. As soon as that occurred, he had a vacancy. He appointed his doodle with that position. Now he's looking at, shoot, if I have one, what if I get two? And if he gets two, that means he controls the Fed. The Going back to 1913 and the Federal Reserve Act, the whole notion is that we were not supposed to have a currency that was politically determined. The currency, our money supply, was to be nonpartisanly determined, which is why the terms of the Fed are 14 years. They're overlapping, 14 years and overlapping. And so you can't come in and say, gee, I want these seats unless people resign. So he pushed Lisa Cook to resign. She said no. She said, oh, hell no, in fact. And she has lawyers. She comes out of the civil rights movement indirectly, not directly, with good stock and good folks who are aligned with our causes. And she's not going quietly. So this will be caught up in the courts for some time. Meanwhile, of course, Stephen Miller has been appointed to a term that ends in 2026, I believe, and he will have the opportunity. Trump will have the opportunity to fill that seat permanently. But Lisa Cook's term goes, I believe, until I'm not sure how long it goes, into 2030s, and that means she's a permanent. Um, that means she's a quasi permanent person. And so, given that, uh, I'm laughing at Solomon Harris. Brother, stop posting. You're distracting me. Um,
No, but don't. I mean, I appreciate Solomon and what he's got to say. Just disagree with it. And I hear you because you got enough oxygen. We hear you. Disagree with you. And, the fact is, there's a CNN article, Dr. Malvo, and it was posted. It was just updated. How an obscure housing director launched Trump's firing of Fed Governor Lisa Cook. Bill Pulte, I think it is,
Yeah, I saw.
Pulte. He's been one of the loudest voices, I'm reading from the article, inside the Trump administration calling for the Federal Reserve Chair, Jerome Powell, to resign. Now, he, a wealthy businessman turned Federal Housing Finance Agency director, whose official remit seemingly has little connection to the Fed, has set in motion President Trump's most aggressive action yet to alter the future makeup and independence of the Fed's Board of Governors, the consequential body that helps set interest rates. So it is clear that this is an act of retribution.
Yes,
The thing is, I mean, look, we call balls and strikes here on the Santita Jackson show. And that's it. So if you want to contribute to the conversation, everybody, but you have the right to your opinions. Your feelings are what they are, but the facts are what they are. An
yes.
allegation is not proof that you've done anything. Anybody can be
This
accused
should
of
be a
anything at
defamation.
any time. I mean, and I hope, Solomon, that you're never accused of anything. And if you're accused, I will not assume that you are guilty. It has to be proved. Because
So
President Trump, while he was dealing with his trials, was running for president. And I agreed with that because he had not been convicted. So just
mm,
if you're going to play the game, Solomon, play it by one set of rules.
but
Dr.
they
Malvo.
can't do that. They can't do that. But here's again, let's go back to Lisa Cook and be really clear. She has not been investigated by this current body. She was
Mhm.
investigated when she went in. Before you get federal clearance for anything, even dog catcher or intern, it took me 11 months to be cleared as an intern.
Mhm.
If you're accused of any, they will investigate it. Lottie Dottie and anybody can pick up the
Right.
telephone and call and say, Julian Malvo robbed a bank, and they will investigate it, whether I did it or not. They will have
On
a
the
full
Hill.
investigation.
That's right.
Uh,
On the Hill, you get
they go to
investigated in Congress on a rumor. A rumor.
they go to your next door neighbors,
That's
which
it.
they did on me, and the neighbor said she was always a shit disturber. Okay. Um, I'm still mad at them. Some of them dead. I'm still mad at them. But they basically will go all over the place to find issues with you. Let's go back to Project
Mhm.
2025 and see what that man said about what he wanted to do. He wanted to take over the Fed. He wanted to take over the National Labor Relations Board. He wanted to take over the administrative agencies as a part in Project 2025 that talks about administrative agencies, which are often presidentially appointed but independent agencies as passed by Congress. And so essentially, he wants to take over those agencies. And you've seen it agency after agency after agency. Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, National Labor Relations Board, and now here we have the Fed. And the Fed is one of the most influential because it sets interest rates, what deals with global money. And look at everything this man has done in the 8 months that he's been in office. Now, let's be clear about these 8 months. He said he was going to come in and fix inflation. Did he? No. He said he was going to fix these wars. Ukraine, no. He said he was going to fix the war in the Middle East, Israel, no. What he has done is created havoc. My grandmother used to say he behaves like a bull in a china closet. And what happens when the bull gets into the china closet? All the china gets broken. So what we have is someone who's trying to break the system. And to what end? Santita, you make the point constantly. Who's behind him? Who benefits from the breaking of the status quo? And we know who that is. It's the oligarchs. It's not him himself. He's just their buffoon. It is those who would prefer to have an economy that is exploitive. That's what he would prefer. And so taking down Lisa Cook is just one chink in an armor. She is not the enemy. She is a measured, basically nonpartisan. I can't recall her
Hmm.
ever really getting into, me, everywhere I go, there's an argument about politics. I can't ever recall her mixing it up about anything political. Yes, she's progressive. Yes, she cares about working people, but is she overtly?
Partisan?
Yeah,
No.
and the answer would be no. So this
And
is
and
a
I think on the Fed that she should not be
no,
partisan.
no, and that's
Because
why she was selected, because she is really, quite frankly, a centrist who does care about people. I wrote a piece years ago about why don't we put a nurse on the Fed? In other words, someone who deals with ordinary people. That's about as close as you're going to come to it. Someone who, while she hangs in high cotton, she cares about ordinary people, but she's not done anything that's overtly partisan, that's overtly even pro poor people. She's raised questions. What does this mean to people at the bottom? But those are the kind of questions that the people on the Fed should raise. This is just a naked attempt by this man to take over our money supply. A naked attempt to exert presidential power when it doesn't belong.
well, is
Bless
it
Lisa.
presidential power, Dr. Malvo, or is it oligarchical power? Because it seems to me they have an outsized influence, not just on this administration, on administrations. I mean, the president has become less powerful over time, and the oligarchs have become more powerful over time. We've replaced monarchy with oligarchy, right? And so I'm wondering because it's very clear. When I saw J.D. Vance plucked out of the U.S. Senate and put on that ticket, I said, now everybody can see, I hope, who's really running the show. These people are running the show. And let me just go to, I believe, I don't want to pronounce your name incorrectly, Osa. I'll just stay with that. You said, we told you all to stop bashing Biden and the Democratic Party. The way you all did was bring in people like David and others who spread false information. You tried to justify Trump's actions to your listeners, as many of the listeners cautioned such information you were putting out. Mr. West and others are now hiding after they've destroyed everything. Now we are seeing the consequences of such actions as Trump and his evil administration is destroying everything that made America what it is. No, no, no. The fact is, President Biden should have done what he said he was going to do. He said he was going to be a transitional figure, which meant that he would have announced that he was not running in November of 2022. Dr. Malvo would have given the field 2 years to run and to be
General.
strengthened. He gave Kamala Harris 107 days. Now, there are reports, press reports, that say that if she, in her memoirs or in her utterances, says anything that is critical of the Biden administration, that they are going to throw opposition research information on her. I've seen that more than once. Mark Halperin was the first person to report that. I'm not the problem. The Democrats are meeting up in Minnesota right now. They cannot pass a resolution saying that that we need a ceasefire and that the genocide should end. This is not my fault. The two Democrats who have won are Democratic Socialists, people who are, I mean, look, the party's losing. The party's losing, not me. So don't put that on me. You stop doing that, and you're not gonna whip me in line. I'm a grown woman. I'll criticize whomever I choose to. And you criticize people in whom you have an investment, Dr. Malvo. I'm supposed to criticize you because I'm supposed to make you better.
Well,
People have
I
all kinds of problems with Biden was losing when he got off the ticket. People wanted him off the ticket. I Everybody wanted him off the ticket because he looked like he was struggling, and he was. So
well,
just stop
I
that.
find I find the sister, also, I believe her name was, I find her comments specious because, as you say, President Biden was just not in a good space. His debate was horrible.
Awful.
everybody can say he had a bad day and maybe that excuses some of it, but the fact is that when you are in that position, and you and I and many have been there, and when you're in that position, I mean, you do whatever you have to do to bring your A game. You may not feel well, you may not, whatever. You do what you have to do. If you have people on the side giving you whatever to keep you pepped up, you bring your A game. He didn't bring his A game. He didn't have an A game that day. And it highlighted all the failures and frailties that president had. Now, I won't say I was a Biden fan, but I was not a Biden critic either. He did many important things during his administration. But those last 2 years, you saw his increasing frailty. You saw him falling. You saw him getting confused. Anybody who loved him would have said to him, dude, boo, maybe you need to step aside. And then we could have had an open primary we had a plethora of really great people, Gretchen
Yeah.
Whitmer, Gavin Newsom. I mean,
Kamala
there were
Harris.
Kamala goes out, but we could go down the list, call the roll of those who could have been president. But when you wait until 107 days, you're scrambling. And that's what she was doing, unfortunately. She had to scramble. And in her scrambling, she inherited a team that was not her team. They tried to meld it together. She had her own people, but the structure of the campaign had already been set. And I mean, advertising had already been bought. You don't buy the advertising a month in advance, you buy it months in advance.
Dr. Malvo, and these are the same people who said a year and a half, 2 years before that she was unqualified to be vice president. Let us be
Mhm.
clear. She
Oh
was
yeah.
fighting to stay on the ticket. Don't you remember? So just stop. The Democrats hurt themselves, and they ended up hurting the people, which is why they are less popular today with the American people than the Republicans. Math, make that math for me. With the policies that the Republicans have put
Mm.
forth,
Well,
there is no
they
way.
basically didn't hurt themselves.
Yeah, I'm
They
not.
didn't hurt themselves, Santita. They hurt the American
And I
people.
was critical of the president while supporting him. I think you can do both at the same time. The fact is, just
Yes, he did.
my
Here's the
mother,
problem.
my father said, his wife is his best friend and his chiefest critic. You've known my parents 50 years. You know she is going to look at him and say, I did not like when you said that. I think you could say that better. Everybody saying, "Oh, you were great tonight." And she's like, "No, I don't think so. This is not one of your better nights, one of your better days. If you care about
No, your
someone,
mom is
she's
that's
that
what you
one."
do. She's a critic to the bone. I remember giving a speech that I thought was kick ass. And Miss Jackie Jackson gave me a 3x5 card with everything I did wrong. And she said, but you didn't say this, but you forgot that. And, I know she loves me, so I wasn't mad before a minute. My feelings were hurt. And then I had to say to myself, all she did was try to make you better. All she did, that was funny. That particular speech, she said, "I give you a B. I'll give you a B minus." I said,
Huh?
"What?" Everybody else
People
is all
got
grown.
a standing
Trying to make,
ovation. What? They want me back, and she's like, "Oh, okay. Well, when you come back,
but
make sure you."
that's love. That's really love. And so, sister who says we've been criticizing Biden, well, quite frankly, from my opinion, the time to criticize Biden is over with. This is what we got. We
Oh,
have people who preferred, I'm not going to use names. I'm not even going to say anything. Who preferred that to a highly qualified African American woman. We've had two highly qualified women run for president, and we rebuffed them both. Hillary Clinton, for all her baggage, was highly qualified, far more qualified than that man.
no,
But
than anybody
yes,
who's ever been the nominee. This woman, and she got 3 million more popular votes
popular votes, yes.
than Trump did, but he won more votes in more little places. They made some errors in their campaign. They did not go to places where they really should have gone.
No,
And that
and
hurt.
that part, and they didn't. She ignored the black community, which she Philly. Anyway, neither here nor there. That was
Ugh.
2016. Fast forward to 2024. Vice President Harris had 107 days. She did a very credible job. She didn't win for any number of reasons, some of which are of her own making, many of which were of the Democratic Party's making.
She was not
I,
rolled over the Dr. Malvo. She was within 2 percentage points. And then others are saying, who are doing a deep dive, said that a lot of her votes were taken from her.
Oh, gerrymandering, not only gerrymandering, quite frankly, voter suppression. Barbara Arnwine and her team have done a study that talks about how much voter suppression took place, how many voting places were closed, how many in places like Mississippi where people went from having to travel 5 to 6 miles to get to a voting place to having to travel
Mhm.
20 miles to get to a voting place. And with
Mhm.
everybody not having transportation, what happens? Some people just say, "Oh well," or they'll say, "She got this." We squandered the exuberance of the August 2024 convention. There was an exuberance left out there. We squandered that by letting the hacks, the Democratic Party bohos, who always get the contracts, we let them take over as opposed to letting us take over.
Well, let me just answer Osa, because I can't really see your picture, but I see you said you wanted him off the ticket too. Okay, then start there. When the party loses, we all lose, and that is why we're losing now. Nothing is wrong with criticizing. We all want that. That was not what you implied, and I certainly did not infer that from your previous comments. You didn't say that. But what happened was spreading misinformation on with those that came on your shows. We talked about it then, and when it comes to talk about Trump, we all try to justify what he did and what he was doing. I have no problem criticizing. No, you did, because that was what you said in your previous comment. Let me tell you something. I don't have misinformation on my show, and if I did, I don't know why you're here, with all due respect. I take that as an affront. I vet the people who I bring before you because I care. CNN lies to you. MS Now lies to you.
Whatever they are,
Fox
yeah.
lies to you. All these people. I can't afford to do that, which is why my algorithm is suppressed. I told you
And
Ukraine was not
let
going
me
to work.
just interrupt Santita, and even more
Yeah.
than that, when you bring us on, because I come on from time to time, when we violate your rules, you will check us in a New York heartbeat. I've come on here knowing that I can't call that man what I'd like to call him because that doesn't happen up in here. Um, you, you will immediately stop and say we have to respect. So also, I mean, I don't know what's bothering you today, um, and
I,
what's bothering you about the discourse, but I think on Santita, you're wrong. I
well, you
simply
know
think
what? It's really all right because there's no misinformation here. We don't do that. If I had misinformation, I wouldn't be able to survive. Um, the Democrats still don't get it. They just withdrew their support for Omar Fateh, who just won the Democratic
who's that?
primary in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Now, and the
Why did they?
Democrats are now come. I don't know. Maybe because he's too progressive. Like they attacked
Well,
Mamdani
just like Mamdami
before
in
they
New
were.
York.
I mean, they're all having. They're all. I mean, the Democrats are hurting themselves. So don't
Hakeem
put it on me
Jeffries.
because I'm not interested in a party, Osa. I'm interested in the people winning. That's all I want.
Well,
Because the people are not
listen,
going to eat. They're not going to eat,
Hakeem
and
is
they're
the
going to
head of the
die.
Democratic. He's a speaker, whatever, the number two in the House, the Democratic leader of the House. He still has
Minority
not
leader.
endorsed Mamdami in New York. They're supposed to talk. Mamdami is a Democratic nominee. Come on, Hakeem, what's the problem? What's the story? Again,
And
I think, as you say, Democrats are hurting themselves. Okay,
but
my
you know what?
sister.
I've got like 3 minutes left here. I whatever however you want to close this out. And also I wanted to thank you for weighing in. And Solomon, you too. We just have absolute disagreement. Disagreement. And that's it. But misinformation, we don't do that here. Not at all. And um and you don't have to and you can talk about me. Well, I don't care. It really doesn't matter to me. It really doesn't. I appreciate that you are here And we're not spreading misinformation. And if the misinformation we spread, you need to cite it chapter and verse. Because
There
I
you go.
promise you, I can refute every point that you would bring up. There is no misinformation. If I've got something wrong, I have come back the next day and I have said it. But I have not gotten these things wrong. With Ukraine, I was right. With Gaza, I was right. With Kamala Harris, I was right. All this stuff, I was right. When people were playing politics on Trump, I was right. I don't have to like him in order to say, you know what, y'all play fair. Because guess what? If you don't play fair with him, well, he might not play fair. But I'm going to tell you what, we're seeing the politics of retribution and we're all losing. Nobody's winning. And that's a shame. I'm not going to stand for a party. I'm standing for people. And I'm going to demand that the party stand for the people. 50,000 people per year are supposed to die because of these cuts. And that's a shame. You ought to be upset about that. And the Democrats are not mounting enough of a fight against it. And they need to be out. They need to tell people to get out in these streets. Not riot, but march. That's what they ought to do. They ought to register the 900,000 black and brown people in Texas who are unregistered to vote. They're not doing that. They don't have a massive voter registration campaign. Shame on them. We have enough people and enough voters or people who are inclined to vote in that direction to undo what these Republicans are doing or what these right wingers are doing. But they won't do it because it's two wings of the same bird. And it's flying in the wrong direction. It's going to run into a wall and hurt us all. Dr. Malvo, the last 2 minutes belong to you.
Thank you, Santita, for first of all for this opportunity. Secondly, to make sure that your listeners understand what the story is with Dr. Lisa Cook. This is a bold attempt to take the Federal Reserve Bank back. It's the first time in the entire history of the Fed, over 100 and well 1913, so 100 and
112 years.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's the first time that we've seen the executive attempt to take over the Fed, and it has all kinds of consequences for each of us each and every day. Also, a destabilizing effect on the world economy. We should be very, very concerned about this. Whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, this is imperiling the economic stability of our nation. Secondly, I would say that while we must, with all of our energy, resist the things this person is doing, which is a naked grab for power, not just with our economic system, with our other systems. We also cannot afford. I was with some young people yesterday, and one young brother said he was so depressed about this. We cannot afford depression.
Mm-mm.
We cannot afford. What we have to lean in on is the spirit of Malcolm X, the spirit of Rosa Parks, the spirit of Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson. People who saw worse times than these, but were able to go inside and come out illuminating us about what needs to happen. We cannot just sit and say, oh, this is awful, woe is me. Yeah, there's enough woe to go around. But this is right now we're into 8 months of a 2 year cycle. We have the opportunity in 2026 to vote the right way. And I hope that people will take advantage of the opportunity. And if you don't, you know, you got what you got. I went to a block party last night. You've heard me talk about my block parties. The lady who voted for Trump didn't come, but everybody remembered and said, her cousin got deported. And I'm like, okay, you don't believe that fat meat is greasy.
Mm-hmm.
But my question is, what will she do? What will others do who experience the deleterious effect of this administration? As you said, 50,000 people who will die from lack of health care. What will they do? How will they vote? Or will they be silent and say, well, this is the best we can do? We have opportunities. The founders of our country, no matter how flawed they were, and they were extraordinarily flawed, no matter how flawed they were, they had a vision of a flawed participatory democracy. Flawed. And we acknowledge all their flaws. They were operating their own self interest. But guess what? We can operate in our interest if we take control of the tools we have. And what are those tools? They are our ballot, they're our voices, There are opportunities to be out there. So Santita, I'm very chagrined by where we are right now, and especially by what's happening with Dr. Cook, a colleague and one of a handful of Black women economists of a certain age. I'm very chagrined. At the same time, I understand she got to fight. She's not going to just back down and roll over. And more than that, we have to take her leadership in terms of our own fight. We're not going to back down and roll over. Again, thank you as always for the opportunity.
Sending you so much love, the brilliant Dr. Julian Malveaux. Of course, you are on WPFW every Monday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, your nationally syndicated column. And of course, that is from the Pacifica Radio Network. So if you go to Pacifica, you can find her. If you go to WPFW, you can find her. Now it's about,
WPFWFM.org. And Monday, I have a special show. We're going to talk about the Black Rosies, the Black women who held up this country when the men were at war, Black
mm,
women who worked as welders and assemblers. People don't know that story. So tune in Monday morning at 9 a.m. Gregory Cook, brother who has a film about the Black Rosies called Invisible Warriors. It's an amazing film, and I hope that y'all will tune in and keep it moving.
and please, and connect him because I want to have him on the show. Remember Rosie the Riveter? Well, Rosie the Riveter was also a black woman too. How about that? That's right. And they were Asian. There are a lot of stories that have not been told and that have not been told. And I'm so glad that this story is being told. And so, everybody, I just love you and just have a wonderful one. I'm going to be talking this afternoon. We're going to have Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds and Jim Zogby and Ariel Gold, who have been in Minneapolis at the DNC meeting. We're going to hear uh, what uh, what happened there. What happened with Gaza? I mean, were they talking about unemployment? Were they talking about the issues uh, that we're dealing with right now? The invasion of our cities, blue cities, black cities. What happened up there? What did they talk about? And why did they withdraw their support for the Democratic nominee in Minneapolis? Why? Why would they do that? This man won. This man won. Oh, but he's a Democratic socialist. Is that it? Make that make that make sense to me. The Santita Jackson Show here on AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. I'll stand here for another minute or so. I've got to run downtown, but I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And I can see this OSIP, and I've got to run. Um, I didn't spread any misinformation, and you need to be specific about you need to be specific about that charge. You need to be specific because you're not being specific. You are spreading misinformation. So, like I
Santita,
said, and Arlene, I saw your message. You said we can disagree without being disagreeable, but I'm a passionate person. You know that, and I'm a patient person. But I know that when you come for me, you know I'm ready. I'm
I'm bound
someone who
to
is
Santita. I love
also
you much.
okay. I love you too.
Take
I'm
care.
also I love you, and I'm also someone who is a fighter. I was bred to be that. So when you come for me, and when you come for all of the work that I put into this show, so that I can get you real information, not misinformation. You need to come with receipts, Osa. No, you're not. No, that's not specific. You need to get specific. And when you come back, I hope you do come back to the show, be specific. I don't know what Dave you're talking about. Maybe it's Dave Daly, the New York Times bestselling author, the world renowned researcher who talked about how we have been gerrymandered out of power. That, like I said, if you want to charge me with that, you better be specific. A charge doesn't make it so. So get specific. I'm not afraid of it. Get specific. You're not being specific. You're just leveling charges. You want to blame someone for something that the Democrats did. They messed up. And have you been checking out what they're doing in Minneapolis? They still don't understand how people are feeling about the Middle East, about Gaza, about the West Bank. They still don't get it. They don't get it. The people said, we want this man to be our nominee in New York and in Minneapolis. But the Democrats are rejecting these people who the people have chosen. That is just not smart. And it's disrespectful. It's contemptuous of the people they purport to represent. It's contemptuous. So, like I said, whatever, no, not, don't tell me what your pro wrote. You charge me with it. So you bring it to me. So you go back on the Santita Jackson show and you go through the shows and you tell me how I misinformed the public. That's what you do. Otherwise, don't do that. Don't do that because you're spreading misinformation and I will just deem you a troll. And that's it. And don't use vulgar language. Do not do that. I don't do that here. I don't do that. I don't allow it. So don't do that. So there's that. So like I said, next time I see you, I hope you bring some specifics. Otherwise, don't level the charge. Don't do it because that means you're lying on me and you're libeling me, and you know that is something that you can be sued for. All right, now I love you, but let's not play. All right. Okay, no, I got you, and I love you, and I'm glad you're here, Osa. But you got enough space and time today, enough. So thank you, everybody. I'm so glad you are here, and that's right, Donna. Time and date stamp. Give it to me, because I can live on it. Because if I've made a mistake, I will tell you I've made a mistake, and I will correct it. But I haven't. I have not misinformed anyone here. The people who've lied to you are the people you need to be emailing CNN and MSNBC and Fox and these other outlets. You need to email them. But see, you won't come after them. You come for me because you can be right because I'm right here. I get it. And I'm here. I can handle that. But if you come for me, Osa, bring the receipts. Otherwise, don't tell lies on me. Don't do that. Don't do it. Because that makes you less an honest person. And I know that you are an honorable person. And honorable people, when they make charges, they back them up. Don't be dishonorable. No, you are being dishonorable enough. Until, like I said, you bring the receipts. Bring them. Because I want to be, if I'm incorrect, I want to be corrected. Sending you much love. Enough, Osa. You've got enough space. That's it. Because you can say all kinds of things because you're out there in cyberspace and I'm right here. I get it, but I said I'd be here. But I just think that is just, it's not courageous. It is cowardice. Sending you much love, everybody. Osa, Solomon, everybody, it's all love. Hope to see you at 2 o'clock today, Central Standard Time. God bless.